I thought we could build something real. Kymani pushed off the table, stepping into her space but leaving a sliver of distance, as though fear of crossing that line would break something between them. You're not like anyone I've ever met. His voice softened, a note of vulnerability weaving through the tension. But I can't let you in. Not fully. Not fully? Elysia retorted, her heart racing madly. What does that even mean? Are you afraid I'll use your past against you? No, he said, eyes flashing briefly with unguarded anger. I'm afraid you'll see the truth and walk away. Afraid of what I'll have to do, what I might lose. His admission hung heavily between them, pulsing with the weight of the unsaid. You think I'm some delicate flower? She challenged lightly, the corner of her mouth curling into a half-smile to mask her unease. You should have seen me survive the last board meeting. I practically wrestled with alligators. Kymani chuckled, the tension easing for a moment. Alligators, huh? I had my money on a vicious round of corporate Monopoly. Careful, you may get kicked out for using your get-out-of-jail-free card too often. She laughed, warmth flooding her cheeks, momentarily breaking the storm that hung between them. His laughter faded. But this? He gestured between them, seriousness creeping back into the air. This is no game. I'm fighting for your company while keeping my own secrets buried. What if one day they surface and destroy everything we've built? Elysia felt the rush of his words wash over her, a combination of longing and dread swirling in her chest. Then we fight it together, Kymani. You have to let me in. I can't live in the shadows. He stepped closer, their faces inches apart. The potential for something more than intimacy, more than closeness, trembled in the air, such raw emotion weaving through their heartbeats. A silence filled the space, thick and palpable, where their breaths mingled. Elysia's voice broke through, filled with determination. I may not know how to trust just yet, but I know I want you in my life. Whatever comes, we can handle. Kymani's gaze softened, at once fierce and tender, filling the hollow spaces with untempestuous longing. And if I choose trust, then we make our own rules, together, she answered, her certainty igniting the electricity between them. Together, he echoed, the word almost a vow, and the shadows began to recede, letting in the light of possibility. For a fleeting moment, Elysia imagined what it could mean, a shared path, driving toward laughter and struggle, trust and love. But she was also aware that emotions could be as dangerous as the threats looming outside. The precarious balance still hung in the air, yet the anticipation felt alive, each heartbeat a promise waiting to be fulfilled, as Kymani leaned just a little closer. Scene 43. The Rescue Mission. The fading sunlight cast a golden hue across Elysia's office, the last remnants of day softening the lines of the city beyond her window. Kymani's dark silhouette seemed to pulse as he leaned against her desk, his gaze locked onto hers. Are you really going to take this risk for me? He asked, eyebrow arched, a hint of disbelief threaded through his tone. Elysia clenched her fists, a mix of determination and fear resting at her insides. This isn't just about you, Kymani. It's about us, everything we've fought for. The breeze that slipped through the slightly ajar window tangled her hair, a gentle reminder of the chaos swirling outside their bubble. You don't have to put yourself in danger, he replied, his voice suddenly low, thick with protection. Elysia could feel the weight of his words pressing down on her, like the distant rumble of thunder that hung heavy in the air. What if I told you that running away isn't an option? She shot back, a fire igniting in her chest. We're not just pawns in this game. I refuse to let anyone take away what we've built. Kymani took a step closer, the air between them sizzling. This isn't your fight. It is, Elysia interjected, her heart racing as she took a breath, the scent of fresh rain mingling with a hint of cologne that lingered around him. You might think you can protect me by keeping me out of this, but that only puts you in more danger. I'm not sitting idly by while you're out there facing down your demons alone. He ran a hand through his tousled hair, the tension seeping from his posture like steam drifting from an overboiled kettle. Elysia, this isn't about bravery. It's about survival. Every word he spoke felt like a soft punch to her resolve, but his eyes betrayed a shared desperation. Survival means fighting back, she countered, her pulse racing. She stepped toward him, and the electricity between them sparked dangerously close, igniting something deeper than their present crisis. What if I told you I've been planning my own rescue mission? You're not the only one willing to risk everything here. Kymani's expression shifted, a mix of admiration and concern etched into his features. You're amazing, he murmured, caught off guard by her resolve. But you know it's not just this situation. He ran a fingertip along the edge of her desk, a myriad of emotions flickering in his gaze. I can't lose you, Elysia. As the first drops of rain began pattering against the window, the storm outside mirrored the whirlwind inside her. Lightning flickered, illuminating the intensity of their connection. You won't lose me, she said softly, stepping closer, her heartbeat joining the rhythm of the rain. Not now, not ever. With a quick glance out the window, Elysia knew time was of the essence. She leaned in, her breath mingling with his, heart racing, the world beyond them fading, reduced to muffled chaos. If we're doing this, we're doing it together, she whispered. For a moment, the world outside ceased its furious tempo, silence wrapping around them as Kymani took her face in his hands, his touch warm and reassuring. Their lips brushed, a soft exploration that felt like both a promise and a question. In that instant, the air vibrated between them, electric with possibility, the weight of their shared burdens momentarily lifting. Elysia melted into him, her concerns dissolving as he deepened the kiss. A silent reassurance, as a rumble of thunder echoed in the distance, but they were too wrapped up in each other to notice. The kiss swelled, melding passion with determination, their resolve solidifying against the storm brewing outside. As they pulled back, breaths mingled, and she could see in his eyes a fierce fire ignited by her bravery. They stood there, seemingly suspended in time, the distant thunder a reminder of the rising stakes, but in this moment, they were safe together. Let's finish this, Elysia said, her gaze never leaving Kymani's. Together, he affirmed, a rare smile breaking across his face, lighting up the tension around them. A shared understanding rippled through them, binding their fates closer than ever as they prepared to face whatever was coming next. Scene 44, the power of vulnerability. The late afternoon sun draped golden light through the large windows of Elysia's office, illuminating dust particles that danced in the air like forgotten dreams. Kymani leaned against the polished mahogany desk, arms crossed, a picture of angular tension. Elysia paced, her heels clicking rhythmically against the floor, a stark reminder of the intensity thrumming between them. Why do you keep holding back, Kymani? Elysia's voice sliced through the silence, high-pitched and determined, echoing her frustration. She paused, staring at him, the weight of her question hanging in the air like unresolved tension. Kymani's jaw clenched slightly. What do you want me to say, Elysia? That I'm not the hero in some fairy tale? He pushed himself away from the desk, stepping toward her with measured strides, a mix of frustration and vulnerability etched on his face. I've got a past, and it's not exactly something to brag about. Elysia stopped, her brows furrowing and her heart racing. I don't want a hero. I just want you to be real with me. Open up for once. She tilted her head, fire and ice contained in her gaze. The way he stood there, exuding both defiance and uncertainty, sparked something deep within her, a kind of yearning she almost didn't recognize. Kymani sighed, exhaling a storm of bitter air. You think you know me, but you don't. This, whatever this is between us, is a distraction from things you're not ready for. His voice dropped, softening, revealing the weight behind his bravado. I'm not the one you should be trusting right now. But I do trust you. Elysia shot back, moving closer, her eyes searching his. And it's you who keeps pushing me away. What are you afraid of? Silence engulfed them for a moment, his dark, expressive eyes flaring with a mix of pain and something deeper, something raw that stirred beneath the surface. She could see it in the way his hands trembled slightly at his sides, the vulnerable chinks exposing themselves in his armor. Maybe I'm afraid of losing you when this mess blows up in my face, Kymani admitted, his voice barely a whisper. You deserve better than a man with blood on his hands. She took a step back, grappling with his revelation. Then let me help you. You don't have to carry this alone. Her words hung in the air, compelling yet fraught with unspoken anxiety. Kymani stepped closer, closing the distance with the kind of gravity that pulled her in. And what if helping me exposes you to danger? His voice dipped low, a husky timbre that reverberated through her. I just want to know if you'd fight for it. For us, Elysia challenged, her heartbeat quickening as she placed a hand on his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her palm. Is that so much to ask? He froze, tension rippling between them. What kind of fight do you think I'm capable of? I don't want to hurt you. I can't. But we both know this is beyond us now. Elysia's voice trembled, but remained steadfast. Every time you get wrapped up in your secrets, I feel you slipping away, and I can't bear it. A flicker of vulnerability crossed Kymani's features. With a deep breath, he searched her gaze, pulling her closer. You have a fierce heart, Elysia, but love is complicated. My life, he faltered, the weight of his burdens palpable. I want you to understand. I want to support you. She whispered fiercely, her expression softening as her fingers brushed against his cheek. She held his gaze quiet, imploring, and filled with a fierce determination that he couldn't ignore. Kymani's breath hitched, his resolve wavering. Then promise me, no matter how hard the truth hurts, you won't turn away. A tear slipped down Elysia's cheek, the sparkle of it catching the fading light. I promise, she vowed, feeling hope ignite in her chest, a flame in the darkness. In that moment, vulnerability rippling between them, everything shifted. Kymani stepped forward, his lips brushing against her temple, a gesture so tender it sent warmth racing through her. The world outside became a distant memory as they shared their fears, their breaths mingling in the intimate space between them, igniting the raw passion that simmered just beneath the surface. Together, Elysia, he murmured, pulling back to meet her eyes, power and sincerity flickering there. We can face whatever comes, but you need to trust me, trust that I'll fight for you. Her heart raced, a blend of determination and love wrapped in uncertainty. Always, she replied, a soft smirk breaking the tension, even if I have to save you right back. Kymani chuckled, the tension easing into something lighter, a precious moment of laughter against the storm brewing outside. Tuche? He remarked, that lingering glint of affection in his dark eyes sparking anew. Scene 45, Aftermath of Chaos. The echoes of chaos reverberated through the cavernous room, the aftermath of adrenaline leaving a lingering silence as palpable as the dust that fluttered in the sunlight streaming through shattered windows. Elysia Ndidi stood poised at the edge of the room, breathless, heart hammering in her chest. Her usually pristine blouse, now rumpled wrinkles etched into her attire, mirrored the ones etched into her spirit. She ran her fingers through her tightly coiled hair, a momentary refuge from the rising tide of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. Kymani Taragon moved across the space, his tall form dark against the brightness streaming through fractured panes, pulse steadying as he approached her. Each step felt monumental, echoing with the rich timbre of his presence. His dark brown skin gleamed under the fractured light, drawing her gaze and igniting a flicker of warmth amidst the tension. The shadows of the recent confrontation hung heavily in the air, a volatile mix of fear and liberation swirling around them, yet the real battle simmered beneath the surface between their hearts. Did you really think they were going to stop just because we pushed back? Elysia's voice was barely above a whisper, laden with unasked questions, trepidation coiling around her words. Kymani met her gaze, his dark eyes fierce yet tender, a tempest of emotions swirling within. I didn't think it would end with a friendly handshake, he replied, a ghost of a smile dancing on his lips, softening the gravity of their earlier encounter. But neither did I expect to end up in a medieval sword fight, or was that just you swinging paperwork like a weapon? Elysia stifled a laugh, half annoyed, yet grateful for the levity he brought into the chaos. You call that floral presentation a weapon? More like a tiptoe around the battlefield, she said, arching an eyebrow. Listen, if I go down, I'm at least going down in style, Kymani said, hands on his hips, exuding a captivating mix of humor and arrogance. Besides, who else can say they battled corporate thugs in a boardroom and lived to tell about it? The corners of her mouth twitched up reluctantly, the comedy of their situation breaking through the layers of dread. Yet, as they shared a moment of levity, shadows of doubt dulled the smile on her lips. But what does this mean for us? Elysia asked, stepping back to reclaim her personal space, yet unable to fully distance herself from him. What do you want it to mean? Kymani replied, his tone shifting, voice low and intense. The laughter faded into a silence so profound she could hear her heart pounding in response. His presence was magnetic, tension swirling like a live electrical wire between them. Elysia's breath hitched. I. She hesitated, words clawing at her throat. A deep-seated fear gripped her, fear of vulnerability, of falling into a connection that felt dangerous, intoxicating, yet risky. You have your secrets. Secrets don't define us, he said, taking her hand with gentle firmness, his thumb brushing against her knuckles, a breath of a touch yet electric. You and I were tied together by something deeper than corporate warfare. But do you think we can do this? Fight back against everything together? She searched his eyes for answers, fear mingling with hope. We just did, he murmured, their bodies drawing closer, a magnetic pull neither could deny. And if I can stand up for you in a boardroom of sharks, I can damn well stand up for us anywhere. We create our narrative. Elysia felt warmth bubble up in her chest as she peered into the depth of his gaze. No more shadows, only raw honesty and fierce resolve. Then let's write a story that doesn't end with us running scared. At that, Kymani leaned closer, the weight of their unfolding connection heavy and exhilarating. His breath against her skin sent shivers down her spine. Just one question, he said softly. Do you believe in happy endings? I'm learning to, she replied, her heart racing as their worlds converged, lips tantalizingly close, her breath mingling with his. And then it happened. In a whirl of shared chaos and vulnerability, Kymani finally pressed his lips to hers, both a promise and a celebration, a collision of worlds that sent electricity coursing through their veins. The world outside faded, leaving only the warmth of their embrace, a deep, soulful kiss that ignited everything they were meant to be. Kymani pulled back slowly, searching her gaze, the air charged with unspoken vows. Let's finish this battle together, Elysia. She smiled, breath a little staggered. Together. Scene 46, New Horizons. Elysia Ndidi sat at her mahogany conference table, the polished surface casting sharp reflections of the late afternoon sun filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The room, stylish yet echoing with the ghosts of boardroom debates, felt unusually still. She adjusted her linen blouse, the fabric soft against her skin, but the weight of her thoughts lingered heavily, like a storm cloud ready to burst. Kymani Taragon strolled in, his silhouette leaning casually against the doorframe, all dark elegance and quiet strength. His dark shirt clung to his athletic build, accentuating an aura of gentle command. Elysia glanced up, the moment stretching between them. A flutter of apprehension wove through the air, electrifying the mundane. Hey, he said, his voice low and rich, like deep mahogany. It sent an unexpected thrill through her as he stepped inside, closing the door with an intentionality that mirrored her own guarded spirit. Hey, she replied, trying to steady her breath, pretending to scrutinize the notes scattered across the table. They were just a haphazard mixture of ideas, ink scratches of dreams half-formed. So, ideas? Kymani asked, moving closer. His dark, expressive eyes dared to meet hers, and the unyielding intensity made her pulse quicken. Pretty much, she replied with a slight shrug, but they're all over the place. She bit the inside of her cheek, wrestling with the urge to reveal the depth of her uncertainty. He approached her side of the table, the warmth of his presence radiating like an iron stove on a cold winter's night. Let's see what you've got. She leaned back against the chair, studying him over her notes. There was an easy confidence about him, a mixture of danger and tenderness that both thrilled and terrified her. What if we revamp our approach? Focus on the community first. Lessons learned, you know. She hastily thumped her index finger on a few bulleted points, a habit she couldn't shake when articulating her plans. Community-focused? I like it. There was a slight smirk on his lips, like he was entertained by something just out of reach. More opportunities for fancy outreach dinners with me? Her laughter burst out unexpectedly, lightening the atmosphere, as if they had drifted away from the shadows that haunted their past. Why? Are you trying to use my business to procure more dinner invitations? She teased, arching an eyebrow. Absolutely. He glanced away, hands clasped behind his back, the picture of nonchalance. Never too early to think about our next meal, right? She shook her head, trying to suppress the involuntary smile. You know, if you keep interrupting my working flow, I might just have to start charging you. Is that your plan? Charge me for dinner? I could get used to that? he quipped, the glimmer in his eyes teasing the boundaries of their connection, simmering just below the surface, begging for exploration. Too bad. I owe you a few for the last business debacle. The laughter faded, the shadow of their complications creeping back into the conversation. She waved her hand dismissively, attempting to cloak her uncertainty. But really, Kymani, I need to center this company, make it something that lasts, something meaningful. He stepped closer, the gravity of his presence anchoring her swirling thoughts. You already have everything it takes. Just remember it's about the experience, not the product. Easier said than done, don't you think? She countered, her voice softening. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, a growing flame that twirled around her heart ever so gently. Kymani's gaze lingered on her, the tension thickening like honey drawn from a jar. Elysia, you can't lose sight of your own worth in the process. Trust your instincts. Her breath hitched at the earnestness in his voice. They were two people juggling the weight of uncertainty, dancing around truths unspoken yet felt deeply. And what about you? She challenged lightly, tilting her head slightly. What are you doing here, really? The air turned charged as he squared his shoulders, facing her fully. I'm here because I believe in this, believe in us. Her heart raced as she searched his eyes for answers, lingering on his unguarded expression. And if everything falls apart, then we rebuild together, he stated, his voice steady like the horizon just before dawn. Besides, you've got me fighting by your side. What could possibly go wrong? Her pulse quickened at the hint of promise they shared, layered beneath the surface, a steam kettle about to boil over. Was it crazy to hope amid chaos, to imagine a new horizon together, one where falling together wouldn't mean breaking apart? Just don't run away when things get tough, she said lightly, her eyes catching his with all the weight of her heart. Me, he chuckled, his laughter deep and warm, soothing like a balm. I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever. A comfortable silence enveloped them, and as the sun dipped a little lower, Elysia realized the weight of her hesitation began to lift, replaced by an exhilarating tension like the beckoning of the horizon just outside their grasp. Scene 47, Waves of Change. The scent of rain hung heavy in the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of damp asphalt outside Elysia's sleek glass office. Golden threads of sunlight fought through the thickening clouds, casting twisted shadows against the walls, a reflection of the tumult inside her heart. She stood by the window, fingers tracing the cool edge of the pane, feeling the electricity in the atmosphere mirror the power dynamics shifting within her life. Kymani sauntered in, his presence commanding yet softened by a playful grin that momentarily lured her from her thoughts. "You're not starting a rain dance, are you?" he teased, breaking the heavy silence. His deep voice wrapped around her, a cocoon of warmth that ignited an undeniable spark. "Only if it involves convincing the weather to give me a break," she replied, diverting her gaze from the tempest brewing outside to meet his dark, probing eyes. "There's too much chaos as it is." Shrugging off his coat, he leaned against the doorframe, a living embodiment of charisma. "Chaos has a way of forcing us to adapt, Elysia. Kind of like your business, don't you think?" She crossed her arms, a defensive gesture she couldn't shake. "We can't keep playing this game of survival. I don't want to be a pawn in someone else's mess." Kymani moved closer, the air thickening with unspoken tension. And yet here we are, with uninvited guests and unsolicited drama. His lips curled into a smirk. "Perfect start to our new partnership, right?" Elysia rolled her eyes, half amused amidst the mounting stress. "You mean besides the corporate saboteurs trying to take us down?" "Oh yes, a real dream come true." She threw her hands up dramatically, the frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. "I thought I was signing up for a promising new venture, not a reality show." "Hey, I didn't sign up for reality either," he shot back, his laughter echoing in the room like thunder rolling in the distance. "But we can't run from it. How about we turn this chaos into something beautiful?" He stepped forward, the energy between them intensifying. "Like a masterpiece?" Elysia raised an eyebrow, skepticism lacing her tone. "Precisely," he replied, leaning in slightly, their faces inches apart. "Let's create something together. No one said we couldn't have a little fun while we're at it." Elysia felt the heat radiating between them, the storm outside a mere whisper compared to the turmoil inside her chest. You make it sound so simple, she challenged, striving to sound assertive, though her voice betrayed a lingering vulnerability. It is simple, Kymani asserted softly. Life throws complications our way, and sometimes we just have to embrace them, like a dance in the rain. He caught her gaze, a shared vulnerability weaving through the air. What else do we have to lose? But maybe this time, we can make those waves work to our advantage. Elysia hesitated, heart pounding with each pulsing beat of reality. You know it's not just about you and me. There are stakes, Kymani, my company and my heart. Then let's protect both, he murmured, the sincerity in his eyes drawing her closer. You, me, and the storm. We can weather this together. A soft rumble of thunder reverberated through the air, reflecting the heartbeat between them. Okay, but Elysia's voice was barely a whisper. You have to promise me something. Anything, he breathed, his expression shifting, seriousness settling in as he grasped her chin gently, his thumb gliding over her cheek in a reverent touch. Promise me you won't pull away when it gets tough. This has to be all in, she urged, staring deep into his eyes, searching for assurance. I promise, he affirmed, every syllable weighted with conviction. Closing the gap, he leaned down, their breaths mingling as a fresh breeze swept through the window, tousling her hair, a spark of freedom. Before their lips could meet fully, the room chilled again, like the wind outside. There was still a battle to fight. Elysia pulled away slightly, breathless, laughter escaping her lips. As long as you promise to hold the umbrella on our rainy days, she joked, unable to resist the playful banter. Deal, Kymani chuckled, relief flooding through him. But just so you know, I'm only doing it so I can stay dry. You know how it messes with my hair. His teasing grin reappeared, dispelling the seriousness as easily as the clouds began to part outside. Priorities, Mr. Taragon, she shot back, a lightness now coating the air between them. But I appreciate the effort. As the sun broke free above, casting brilliant hues into their office, Elysia felt the tides turning, not just in the storm but within her heart. They stood side by side, ready to face whatever waves came next together. Scene 48, Negotiating Hearts. The conference table gleamed like a freshly polished trophy, its surface reflecting the city skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. Elysia Ndidi stood at one end, the air crackling with her resolve, while Kymani Taragon leaned casually against the wall, observing. The hum of conversation filled the room, as representatives from Hargrove Industries shuffled papers and exchanged guarded glances. Are you sure this is the right move? One of the delegates, a wiry man named Tim, questioned, folding his arms defensively. Investing in a startup is hardly a guaranteed return. Elysia lifted an eyebrow, confidence radiating from her poised stature. Tim, success demands a degree of risk. Without it, we remain stagnant. Can't you see that? She gestured grandly, her passion illuminating their dreary surroundings like fresh paint on an old canvas. Kymani, his presence a steady flame amidst the uncertainty, replied, Moreover, Elysia's vision isn't just about the present. It's about the future we're building together. With the right partnerships, we can redefine industry norms. His dark eyes locked onto hers for just a moment, a silent camaraderie blooming in the space between them. Future aspirations don't pay the bills, Tim shot back, unwilling to concede. He was not in the mood for grand visionary speeches. Yet what's a business without dreams? Elysia smiled sweetly, though her voice caught on the edge of sarcasm. If you're looking for something safe, perhaps you should stick to your current investments that seem to be fetching you those pennies. Silence engulfed the room, punctuated only by the clatter of a pen rolling off the table. Kymani, ever the diplomat, broke the weighty pause. Let's get on the same page here. Elysia is offering a groundbreaking approach that could elevate not just our profit margins, but also our reputation in this ecosystem. Are you implying we play second fiddle, Kymani? Tim's tone dripped with skepticism. Kymani straightened, an amused smirk ghosting his lips. I'm implying that we're in this together, much like you're in with your questionable stock options. We can either sink or swim. Why not swim together? Elysia hardly suppressed a laugh, her tension easing under the arc of Kymani's humor. What do we say? Swim or sink. Either way, it's a splash. There was a nervous chuckle from one of the other delegates, a woman in a tailored blazer, but Tim remained unamused. This isn't a comedy club, Elysia. We need to take this seriously. Yes, and I am, Elysia snapped back, tones elevated. But the undeniable spark of competition simmered beneath her words. She thrived in these settings, even against a formidable counterpart like Tim. I'm serious about this partnership because it means something. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet for me. Kymani stepped closer to Elysia, the tension between them palpable. And that's why I believe in your vision, he said, his voice a low, rich pulse against the chatter. He leaned in, his presence radiating an intensity that turned Elysia's breath into a shallow ache. You light up this room, Elysia. Don't let anyone dim that. Her heart raced at the weight of his words. Elysia arched a brow as she immersed herself in his deep gaze, wrapped tightly in all the hidden meanings they had exchanged over the past weeks. The air hummed between them, heavy with something both electric and tender. Tim coughed and shifted his attention to his notes, unwittingly leaving the two of them in a bubble built by their shared ambitions and budding affections. Let's focus. Look, if we want to take bold steps, we need to fully embrace the unpredictable, Elysia defended, and I'm willing to put everything on the line to protect that vision. Why do I hear you sounding like a romantic in a novel? Tim mocked, but Kymani interjected smoothly. Because romance involves stakes, Tim, Kymani shot back, grinning. And sometimes you must chase after what makes your heart race like a good investment or an even better partnership. Elysia's lips trembled into a half-smile, the tension uncoiling into something lighter as she caught Kymani's eye. I guess our partnership has a chance then. Her voice dipped to a whisper that wrapped around them like silk. A fleeting smile graced Kymani's lips while he subtly leaned closer, the distance between them shriveling under their unspoken connection. Then let's make the leap together, he murmured, a fire igniting behind the dark promise in his eyes. As she summoned her courage, Elysia replied softly, I'm all in, with both the partnership and this leap of faith. The room faded around them, the hinges of their new alliance creaking in the stillness. A moment marked one that bore witness to the undeniable reality of their union. Were they negotiating business or hearts? It was blissfully difficult to tell. Scene 49, Finding Balance. The midday sun filtered through the large windows of Elysia's sleek office, casting geometric shadows on the polished wood floor. Elysia stood at her desk, a blue file clutched tightly in her hand, her brow furrowed. What do you mean, you're stepping back? She asked Kymani, her voice a delicate mix of confusion and urgency. We just had a plan. Kymani leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, his dark eyes fixed on her. The tension was palpable, thick as molasses in the air around them. Elysia, if you micromanage every detail, we'll lose the bigger picture, he replied, a hint of impatience in his tone, though he softened his stance, pushing off the frame to walk toward her. Her throat tightened. Elysia met his gaze, her expression shifting from disbelief to determination. You're not my boss, Kymani. I know this company inside and out. I built it from nothing. She jabbed a finger toward the window, either emphasizing the breathtaking skyline or venting her frustration, perhaps both. Exactly, Kymani exclaimed, his voice rising, but he quickly dropped it, the heat in his words softening as the tension of the moment shifted. And that's why I'm concerned. I can't watch you drown in the details when the sharks are circling. Elysia inhaled sharply, recognizing the real threat behind his words, an undercurrent of vulnerability sparked by a shared fear of failure. You make it sound so dramatic. We're not living in a thriller novel, Kymani, she said, forcing a laugh that echoed hollowly in the room. His gaze lingered on her face, a clench of his jaw betraying a flood of emotions. Maybe not, but I can't help but think of all the odds stacked against us. He stepped closer, their proximity electrifying, a storm of unwritten words hanging between them. You can't fight alone. Elysia's heart raced. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, his breath mingling with hers in the small office. Maybe I don't know how to work with someone else. I've spent so long doing it alone, she admitted, her voice softening, eyes betraying the depth of her internal struggle. Let me help you, he said gently, leaning a fraction closer. What's the worst that could happen if you let me in? You could actually enjoy this. His smile was a playful challenge, teasing the edge of both flirtation and sincerity. Enjoy? Is that what you call this? Balancing numbers and firing employees? Sounds like a blast. Elysia rolled her eyes dramatically, a hint of sarcasm woven into her words, but the corners of her mouth betrayed her, twitching with the faintest hint of amusement. He chuckled, the sound rich and warm, easing some of her tension as he rubbed the back of his neck. Maybe we could find a way to make this less of a battlefield. Team-building exercises, like trust falls or something. His grin broke through any remaining barriers, and she couldn't help but laugh. Oh, right. Because plummeting into your arms is my idea of a team-building exercise, she shot back, despite the blush creeping up her cheeks. Why not? If I'm going to save you, I might as well earn style points along the way. Kymani winked, his bravado inviting another burst of laughter, the weight of their situation temporarily forgotten. Yet beneath the light-hearted banter lingered the unacknowledged tension of their attraction. Elysia stepped back, trying to gain composure as reality settled back in. But really, Kymani, I can't keep pushing people away to protect the one little piece of me that feels strong. You being here doesn't change the fact that I'm still in over my head. Then let's tread water together. He gestured to her desk with a controlled yet inviting intensity. I'm not going anywhere, not without a fight. The sincerity in his voice struck a chord deep within her, reverberating around her insecurities and weaving through her resolve. A fight? With what? My taxes? She quipped, but her laughter faded when she saw him searching her eyes. Kymani took a deep breath, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. No, against the world and whatever it throws at us. She stepped closer again, the gulf between them shrinking, her heart pounding in a wild rhythm. You really think we can do this? I have to believe it. Besides, he said, locking eyes with her, if we're fighting through the ashes, wouldn't it be better to look good while doing so? Elysia couldn't hold back her laughter, the moment punctured by humor and a breath of hope. Okay, Mr. Fashion Sense, let's see if you can make me look good on this battlefield. The tension shifted once more, intertwining anticipation and fierce connection as they stood together on the precipice of change, unsure of what would come next, but ready to face it head-on. Scene 50. Passionate Resolutions. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the vibrant rooftop terrace, alive with laughter and the clinking of glasses. Twinkling fairy lights hung above like stars caught in a net, illuminating the faces of Elysia Ndidi's friends and colleagues as they celebrated a hard-earned triumph. The faint scent of jasmine mingled with the rich aroma of grilled shrimp skewers wafting from a nearby catering table, making the air feel luxurious, inviting. Elysia stood at the edge of the terrace, taking a moment to absorb the vibrant chaos around her. She wore a bespoke, emerald-green dress that hugged her curves, accentuating her confident posture, yet within her, a storm of uncertainty churned. The laughter of her friends faded as her eyes searched for one man in particular. And then she spotted him, Kymani Taragon, his tall frame silhouetted against the shimmering skyline of the city. Lexi, her closest confidant, sidled up to her, an amused smile plucking at the corners of her lips. "What are you waiting for? The new year?" she teased, glancing at Kymani, who was engaging in animated conversation with a group of their associates. "It's just, he has that way of distracting me," Elysia confessed, a hint of color rising to her cheeks. "The way he stands there, like a painting I can't quite decipher." Lexi giggled. "Girl, go! Just don't get lost in his storm of mystery." Taking a deep breath, Elysia made her way through the crowd, each step a crescendo of anticipation tinged with nervousness. She reached Kymani, who was effortlessly charming everyone around him, but as his gaze met hers, a silence enveloped them, the world outside their bubble receding. "Elysia," he greeted, a warm smile breaking across his face. "You look dazzling tonight." His voice was a low rumble, sending a delightful shiver down her spine. "Thank you. I could say the same about you, Mr. Taragon," Elysia said, returning his smile while battling the flutter in her stomach. "I assume you didn't steal that suit from a secret agent?" Kymani chuckled, adjusting his tie with an exaggerated swagger. "Only the best for a night like this, or to distract from my serious business persona." "Good luck with that," she replied, her grin dancing coyly as her heart raced. "Everyone knows you're part-time superhero, part-time enigma." "Superhero?" he echoed, eyebrows raised with mock disbelief. "I'd prefer charming millionaire with a penchant for saving the day." "What's the difference? Less spandex, more boardroom?" She could feel the shift in the atmosphere, the air thickening with unspoken tension. As laughter danced between them, Kymani's expression shifted, becoming more serious. You know, I've been thinking about how we've gotten through everything together. The setbacks, the challenges we faced, he said, his voice deeper. You've always taken the lead, Elysia. Elysia felt her breath hitch in her throat. And you've always been my anchor, but with everything swirling around us, can we still— We can, Kymani said firmly, reaching out to brush a stray strand of hair behind her ear. The simple gesture sent warmth blooming through her, a reminder of how close they were, no matter the chaos of their lives. Promise? Elysia challenged gently, her chest tight with vulnerability. Always. His gaze softened, drawing her closer, so close she could hear the thrum of his heartbeat. In that moment, the hectic rooftop faded, leaving only the two of them wrapped in the glow of fairy lights. The laughter and music swirled into an ethereal backdrop to the magnetic pull between them, filling the air with electricity. Elysia, Kymani whispered, leaning closer, his breath tantalizing against her skin. I have something to show you. The promise in his voice, rich and alluring, nearly took her breath away. He stepped back, gently taking her hand, leading her toward a secluded corner awash in soft glimmers of candlelight. Just trust me, Kymani said, his voice a deep murmur as they stepped away from the revelry, a shared smile sparking between them. With each moment, the world expanded and the thrill of their connection ignited. As they stood alone in that intimate space, Kymani leaned down, brushing his lips against hers, a tentative exploration that deepened with hunger and longing. Elysia melted against him, a gasp escaping her lips as his hand found her waist, grounding her. They lingered in that sweet embrace, time dissolving as the noise of the celebration faded further into a beautiful memory. Elysia, Kymani breathed as he pulled back slightly, searching her eyes. Whatever happens next, let's face it together. Yes, she whispered, her heart soaring. Together. Under the glow of 100 tiny lights, they stood, power and promise swirling around them, an unbreakable bond formed in the heart of chaos. Scene 51, Foes and Friends. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead in Elysia's office, betraying the tension lingering in the air. She leaned over her desk, eyes scanning the dimmed screen of her laptop, a soft click punctuating the otherwise quiet atmosphere as she shut it. The echoes of past meetings reverberated around her, shouting competitors' veiled threats, and the ever-looming pressure of the relentless market wrapped around her like a suffocating fog. Just as she straightened, inhaling deeply to gather her composure, the door swung open. Kymani, she greeted, unable to hide the flutter in her chest as he stepped inside, tall and commanding in his crisp navy suit. The dark fabric accentuated the warm, rich tones of his skin, a harmonious contrast that always left her breathless. He caught her gaze, a flicker of something raw flashing through his deep-set eyes. She quickly turned back to her work, refocusing her energy as nerves buzzed through her. Elysia, he replied, his voice smooth and steady, yet hinting at an underlying urgency. He crossed the room, brows furrowing slightly. You okay? Just peachy, she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. At least I will be once we push through this meeting with the board. Peachy, huh? You know what they say about peaches? Kymani leaned casually against the doorframe, arms crossed. They bruise easily. The corners of Elysia's mouth curled. Then I'll be careful not to drop myself. I've been known to roll under pressure. Let's not test that theory. He stepped forward, concern etching his features. I can handle the board. You just focus on what's important. You mean you? Her laughter was light-tinged with the sweetness of developing intimacy, yet underlined by tension. And here I thought it was world domination. You know, my list does include that, Kymani teased back, but the jest faded quickly. The weight between them shifted. Look, I get that having me around feels like mixing business with pleasure, but we both need to channel our energy into keeping your company intact. Elysia contemplated his words, the air thick with both vulnerability and humor. Right, because nothing says I value our friendship, quite like partnering with a potential criminal mastermind. She grinned, but her eyes sparkled with a submission of doubt. His face paled momentarily before the usual steely demeanor hardened. Are you really going to go there, Elysia? We need to be real. Work together, they're circling like vultures. And you think we inspire confidence? She waved her hands in annoyance, the empty threats of her competitors hauntingly present. I mean, at least they know what they're getting with me, a self-made woman in a shark pit. But you're a mystery wrapped in a riddle. Maybe so, Kymani mused as his gaze softened. But I'm the mystery who's fighting to protect you. Let them wonder. All they see is the glimmering surface. Right, the gloss of glamour. Elysia chuckled, shaking her head. If they knew anything about the darkness that lies beneath. Her voice trailed off as the uncharacteristic honesty in her words struck her. It's the shadows that hold the most truth, Elysia. Kymani stepped closer, his presence like a storm cloud hovering with palpable energy. Let them think they can tear us apart. We'll be a united front. Elysia shivered at the intensity between them, feeling the warmth of his determination wash over her. Sometimes, she whispered, her breath catching, I think we're a little too much for this world to handle. Let them try, he replied with such fervor that her heart nearly skipped. Together, we'll prove them wrong. Together? She tested the word, savoring its power. Absolutely. Kymani shifted, the subtle change in his demeanor inviting her to lean into the moment, his resolve wrapping around her like a protective shield. But first, we need to face the board. Show them we're not just brave, but brilliant. Funny, I didn't think bravery and brilliance were on the same spectrum, she shot back, attempting to keep the playful banter alive. Yet the gravity of their circumstances settled between them, pulling them closer as both laughter and uncertainty echoed off the walls. Let's put on a show, Kymani said, poised as he straightened his tie. Cloak of courage, masks of confidence. Best leading man I've ever had, she teased, a ghost of a smile gracing her lips. And don't you forget it, he countered, holding her gaze a moment longer. The connection they shared vibrated in the air, charged with unspoken promises and hopes as they headed toward the looming confrontation, ready to defy the odds together. Scene 52. Turbulent waters. The rain lashed against the glass facade of Elysia's office, droplets racing each other down the surface, mirroring the tumultuous emotions bubbling inside her. As she stared out at the stormy skyline of New York, she couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability that washed over her, an instinctual reaction to the chaos brewing outside. Moments ago, they had been strategizing. Now she felt adrift, almost as if the world outside was closing in on her. Kymani entered the room, shaking off the water from his hair like a stray dog who'd wandered in from a storm. His dark socks squished against the floor, and he rubbed the back of his neck, glancing at her. Beautiful day, huh? He let out a smirk, the kind that could light up even the dreariest of weather. Just wonderful, Elysia replied, masking her distress with sarcasm as she turned to face him. I can hear the storm waging war against my sanity. Kymani moved closer, the warmth radiating from him, contrasting sharply with the chill of the rain outside. We can't afford to let them see us break, he said, the gravity in his voice settling over her like a heavy blanket. They both knew the stakes were higher than ever. Focus on what matters. Elysia inhaled deeply, drawing strength from his presence. What matters is how they strike next. My team, she faltered, the words heavy on her tongue. Kymani stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. Your team trusts you. You're the beacon in this storm. The sincerity stirred something within her, a flicker of determination mingled with uncertain warmth. We'll figure this out together, he continued, the intensity of his gaze making her heart race. Together? Elysia echoed, the weight of that promise settling between them. It was simultaneously reassuring and terrifying. What does that really mean, Kymani? We can't just dodge these threats like raindrops. No, but we can create our own storm. His voice was husky, laced with the kind of resolve that made her believe they might just weather any tempest, even the emotional ones thrumming between them. He stepped closer, the air thickening with a shared tension. The storm whipped outside, thunder rumbling in the distance like an omen. I'm here to shield you, Elysia, he said softly, his breath warm against her ear. But I can't do that if you keep pushing me away. Elysia's heart raced, an indignant spark flaring within her. I'm not pushing you away, Kymani. I'm just trying to maintain distance. We both know the risks. She found herself adrift in his gaze, her resolve faltering as he closed the distance fully. Kymani leaned in, capturing her wrist gently but firmly, grounding her. But do we really want to stay safe? His voice was low, almost a whisper, electric against the thunder. Because I think we both want more than just safety. Her breath caught, and the world faded into a hazy backdrop of raindrops and thunderclaps. All that existed was the tension crackling between them, igniting like the storm outside. Elysia faltered, her heart leaping into the unknown. I've spent so long building these walls, Kymani. Then let's tear them down, he replied, his eyes fierce yet tender. In one swift motion, his lips brushed against hers, soft yet demanding, igniting a fire within her that she had long thought extinguished. It was a kiss both powerful and delicate. The chaos of the storm outside mirrored the urgency of their connection. Elysia melted against him, her hesitation evaporating like fog under sunlight. Their lips danced, an electric push and pull that resonated with every beat of her heart. As reality crept back in the pounding rain, their precarious situation, a wave of passion surged between them, fierce and undeniable. She pulled away just enough to glimpse into his eyes, searching for clarity. What are we doing? Kymani brushed a thumb across her cheek, an unexpected gesture of tenderness. We're drowning out the noise, he murmured, his gaze unwavering. And maybe, just maybe, we're learning to swim. Elysia chuckled softly, a lightness filling the air just as another crack of thunder rumbled outside, a wild race of heartbeats underscoring the moment.